Everybody loved the building. Nobody wanted to tear it down. But by 1977, there was a lot of obsolescence, a lot of the heating plant no longer worked, things were falling apart. Everyone knew something had to be done. Harold C. Yancey became president in 1974 and inherited the directive that something has to be done. All of the previous stake presidents, everybody agreed, the general authorities agreed something needs to be done. Let's have a new stake center.
President Yancey called me in, and he said that the church architectural department had decided that they needed to tear the building down. And he said, that really hurts. There's so many of us here. That's the symbol of our church and the symbol of our city. And we need to preserve it if we can. And so I was wondering if you could work with us to see if there was a way to preserve it and make it a stake center. And so that was my charge.
And they finally determined that if the building is to be saved, they would really have to build walls around the walls, cocoon them to make sure they were stable. But our people and Richard Stringham, the architect, had done a lot of work, and those walls were found to be solid. It was left up to President Yancey that the church building department kept saying it's his decision, but under these conditions, if you're going to keep it, we have to protect those ancient walls in this manner. There was also a problem of elevation. That chapel stands high, Pioneer Chapel, elevated. They felt that we had to do something. They said the new building has to be ground floor, period. We had to figure out a way to solve that elevation problem. Well, Richard Stringham had some very good ideas, but they weren't buying all of this right off. Finally, the conditions that the church building department placed upon it, we felt would be a monstrosity. And the more we studied it, if we have to live by the guidelines given us, we're better to tear it down and start over. So the decision was made in a general stake meeting to tear it down. The next morning, President Yancey had to go to Boise, Idaho on business, and in less than 24 hours, this decision went viral, not just locally, but all over the nation. Roger Mudd, a famed CBS anchor and an architectural buff, called Sister Yancey, couldn't get hold of President Yancey, called his wife and told her that the Architectural Guild had voted Harold C. Yancey the Clod of the Year. Spencer W. Kimball, then president of the church, contacted Harold Yancey and said, "You better come and see us." He had architect Stringham's recommendations, and he went into great detail with the First Presidency, and they asked a lot of questions. When President Yancey kind of rested his case, President Kimball seemed a bit undecided, and he just sat there quietly, nobody interrupted, for a few moments. Then he picked up the telephone and called Gordon B. Hinckley, and it was reviewed for him. He had heard nothing. When he heard the presentation, he made words to this effect: "Why can't we just let Bountiful do what they want to do?" President Kimball leaned back, and President Yancey said he had a big smile on his face and said, "I agree." He left that meeting with instruction to go home, finalize the plans, and the way would be made for them to proceed. When it came time for groundbreaking, Ezra Taft Benson came out. He was very interested. And we invited Governor Calvin Rampton, a Bountiful native, and he was excited. He came right out.
The building stands out all by itself, and we were able to preserve that and work around it. No, we didn't change those walls. Wrapping a building around just the back portion and carrying on back, leaving just enough room at the back of the property for double row of parking. We were able to make entrances on each side, not to overpower or interfere with the beauty of the simple elegance of the building itself, but to just as a counterpoint.
Dedication time finally arrived. What a great event in Bountiful. President Yancey conducted. President Spencer W. Kimball, the president of the church, presided. President Kimball gave a magnificent prayer preceded by an address in which he recalled his knowledge of his grandfather, Heber C. Kimball, dedicating the original building.